Hi guys, Whovian Central here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be looking at the fifth Doctor story, Peter Davison's The Visitation. And now The Visitation is a kind of pseudo-historical. It's set in 1666 and I think it's probably got, in my opinion, one of the best one-off villains of the classic run in the Trepolites, which are some fish kind of like creatures which just look amazing. The costume, like prosthetics and stuff, just looked really cool at the time, and I think they just look really interesting. So yeah, the premise of the story is more or less a doctor lands in Britain in 1666, and they land at this big house, and something's happened at this big house which is all eerie, and it's like I think the Black Death is also has a big hand in it, and people are trying to be scared because of the Black Death plague and being all careful. And then the Doctor, Adric, Nyssa and Tegan all investigate it, where they go to the house, and then I think they get captured, if memory serves. First time around they go to the house with him, and so yeah, there's a tad of padding though. There's a bit of padding where the doctor I think escapes, but Adric and Tegan I think get captured. So then the Doctor then has to go back and save Adric and Tegan, but then it kind of ends up going in a bit of a loop, and it feels a bit pointless. However, I think the first part is amazing, and the third and fourth part's pretty good. The second part feels a little bit lackluster, but yeah, I think the beginning sets the story up really well. The ending is a brilliant end of a story, and but then in the middle it kind of loses me a little bit. However, I think the supporting cast are also really good. The main hero guy, who I can't remember the name of, he's a very good addition to the support. He's a very good addition to the cast for this one story, because he kind of gives you a bit of a refresh, because he's just kind of quite funny. He's just like, oh, this is cool. It's this futuristic alien tech. And especially when they go into the ship, and the Doctor gets trapped in the ship with him, and I think it might have been Adric, or maybe it was Tegan, and they get stuck into the alien ship, and he's like really shocked while they're all trying to escape, and he's like, just come on, mate, while everyone else is, because they're getting attacked by some of the angry mobs. I think the whole idea of the story and the fundamentals of the story is really good, and I think the whole idea of the ability to control them is really interesting, and is quite a unique idea at the time. Maybe not anymore, because they kind of feels like it gets a bit reused over and over again. Someone getting mind control to do something, or something that forced to get captured and then do something. But at this time, the idea of mind controlling them was pretty cool and interesting. And then obviously, I think the best part is still at the end, where, if you can tell by the cover, there's fire and stuff. The fire, they go to this place in London with more Trepolites, and they have a fight, and then they drop a piece of fire. They drop a torch, and it lights a fire on, and then as the TARDIS dematerialises, it cuts to it moves over to a shot of the name of the lane, which will tell our fans that, obviously, tell people who know anything about history that was the lane where the Great Fire of London happened, which is an interesting thing. And I think also another thing that I like about this story is a consistency it has with a series 9 episode with Capaldi's Doctor where I think he's with me in the second episode. It's the woman who lived, and she said, maybe I did start the fire of London, who knows? And then he says a bit, he kind of mutters it a bit. No, that was the Trepolites, which was pretty. I thought it was a funny reference and quite an obscure reference to this episode, which I thought was quite unusual. Do I think it's the best Davison story? Probably not. It's probably one of his better ones, but I don't think it's his best. I find that then because of the second part dragging a little bit, it kind of gets a bit repetitive. It kind of feels like a bit just, oh, come on, can you just get moving? But once it gets moving, it's a very good story. And the Grim Reaper, I don't really know what to say about the Grim Reaper looking guy. I think he's a good character. He just seems to be there. And he doesn't really seem to be a good character or a bad character. He just kind of exists to do the bidding of the Trepolite, because obviously it would look weird if he just kept walking around doing his thing. But yeah, it's all around is a pretty decent story, but it just doesn't seem to hold up to some of his later stories, especially ones like Resurrection, Earthshock, and Caves of Anjazani are the main three. But I think it's still probably one of his best stories. I'd say it's definitely, in my opinion, the top 5. If I do a top 5, this will definitely be on his top 5. But I don't know. I think it kind of falls short a tiny, teeny bit with the second part. But obviously, there's a lot of episodes like that. I think, although Genesis is my favourite, I think it kind of also gets caught under the criticism of that, where the Doctor seems to get captured, then escapes, then captures again, and Sarah gets captured by the Thals, and that kind of feels a bit repetitive, which I don't think is true. I think that the Doctor getting captured the first time makes sense, but then him getting captured again also makes sense because it leads him to meet Davros properly, which is good. However, I also think that I do believe that Sarah's capture was a bit annoying because it just felt pointless, and it felt like altogether it ended up just being a bit more like a reason to do a cool cliffhanger than anything when she slipped. But yeah, so it's a good story, but it's not the best story ever. From a writing standpoint, this is Eric Sayward's first story, who went on to write a couple of stories. He wrote The Earthshock, which is obviously a big one. He wrote mainly for Peter Davison, but I also think he might have written one or two for Colin Baker. Obviously, I know he wrote Revelation and Resurrection for Colin Baker, but yeah, this is his first one, and I think for some of the other big writers like Robert Holmes, he's done quite a good job, because Robert Holmes' first story was, if memory serves me right, it was The Crotons, which isn't the best story ever, but it's so the fact that he managed to first story do a really good job. It shows how he was actually probably one of the best writers ever. From the classic run in my So yeah, if you like the video, please make sure you like and subscribe, and maybe watch another video, and if you don't, that's alright. But yeah, thanks for watching the video. See ya.